This food tastes like poverty. My daughter-in-law Chantal screamed those words at me in front of 15 people at my son's birthday dinner. I was standing in her expensive condo, holding my famous mac and cheese, the dish I've been making for 30 years. The dish that fed my son Jerome through childhood. The dish that's been requested at church revivals, funeral repasts, and community celebrations for 3 decades. I'd brought it as a gift. As a contribution to Jerome's 32nd birthday party. As a peace offering to a daughter-in-law who'd made it clear from day one that I wasn't good enough for her world. Chantal looked at my aluminum pan like it was garbage. "This is struggle food," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is what poor people eat because they can't afford anything better. I don't serve poverty food in my home." Her friends, lawyers, executives, people in designer clothes, stared at me. Some looked uncomfortable. Others smirked. My son Jerome stood frozen, caught between his mother and his wife. And I stood there, humiliated, holding a dish that represented every ounce of love I'd poured into feeding people for 30 years. Chantal thought she'd won. Thought she'd put me in my place. Thought she could insult me and my cooking and face no consequences. She had no idea who she was dealing with. Before I tell you how I made her regret those words, and how she ended up on her knees begging for my help, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been insulted by someone who thought they were better than you? Someone who looked down on your hard work, your life, everything you've built? Share your story in the comments below. And if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We share stories like this every day. Real family drama, real disrespect, real justice. My name is Dolores Mitchell. Everyone calls me Dee. This is how my daughter-in-law called my food poverty, and how I made her beg on her knees for the very dish she'd insulted. But first, let me tell you how we got here. I've worked in the West Side Elementary School cafeteria for 30 years. Started as a lunch lady when Jerome was just a baby. Worked my way up to cafeteria manager. It's not glamorous work. It's not high-paying. But it's honest work. And over 3 decades, I've fed thousands of children. Made sure hungry kids got hot meals. Turned government commodity food into something that tasted like someone cared about them. The kids call me Miss D. When they come through the lunch line, I know their names. I know who needs an extra serving. I know who's having a hard day and needs a smile with their tray. Former students come back to visit. Grown adults now, with their own kids. Miss D, I still remember your mac and cheese. Best thing I ever ate. Miss D, your cornbread got me through middle school. That's my legacy. Not fancy restaurants or cooking shows. Just 30 years of feeding people with love. My husband Roy understood that. He was a mechanic. Blue-collar, hard-working man. We raised Jerome together in a small 3-bedroom house in southwest Atlanta. Nothing fancy. But it was filled with love and good food. Roy died 4 years ago. Diabetes complications. The community showed up for me. Brought casseroles, sat with me, prayed with me. After the funeral meals stopped coming, I started cooking for them. It's what I do. How I process grief. How I show gratitude. Church revival. I make my collard greens and cornbread. Someone passes away. I bring a full meal to the family. Community celebration. I'm in the kitchen cooking for 100 people. I don't charge. I don't ask for recognition. I just cook. Because that's how I love people. Jerome grew up watching this. He'd help me in the kitchen. Stir the pot. Taste the seasoning. Learn that cooking isn't just about food, it's about taking care of people. He became a high school history teacher. Follows in my footsteps in his own way. Taking care of kids, making a difference, doing honest work. I was so proud of him. 3 years ago, Jerome started dating Chantal. He met her at some professional networking event. She was a corporate lawyer. Sharp, beautiful, confident. The first time he brought her home for dinner, I cooked a feast. Fried chicken, mac and cheese, collard greens, candied yams, cornbread. My Sunday best. Chantal walked into my house in designer clothes and heels. Looked around my modest living room like she was touring a museum of poverty. Mrs. Mitchell, your home is so cozy. Cozy. That's rich people code for small. At dinner, she barely touched her plate. Pushed food around. Took tiny bites like she was being polite but suffering through it. Is something wrong with the food, sweetheart? I asked. Oh no. It's just very rich. Heavy. I'm used to lighter fare. Jerome jumped in. Mom's cooking is the best, babe. This is how I grew up eating. Chantal smiled tightly. That's nice. After dinner, I overheard her in the bathroom talking on the phone. Girl, I'm at Jerome's mother's house. It's like stepping back in time. The food is so country. So basic. Basic. That word stung. But I told myself she was young. From a different world. She'd come around once she got to know me. I was wrong. Over the next year, as their relationship got serious, Chantal kept me at arm's length. Jerome would invite me to their apartment. No. Jerome would suggest I come to events with them. She'd have an excuse. Your mother wouldn't enjoy this, Jerome. It's a work thing. Your mother would be bored. It's just networking. Your mother doesn't need to come. It's just us and my friends. She was embarrassed by me. I could feel it. When Jerome proposed, I cried happy tears. My baby was getting married. Chantal's parents threw an engagement party at their home in Buckhead. A mansion. Catered by some fancy company. Passed hors d'oeuvres and champagne. I showed up in my Sunday best dress, the nicest thing I owned. Felt out of place immediately. Chantal's mother, Dr. Elise Bouvier, looked at me like I was the help. You must be Jerome's mother. How? Lovely to meet you. Jerome speaks so highly of you. The pause before lovely said everything. Chantal's father barely acknowledged me. Too busy networking with other doctors and lawyers and people who mattered. I spent the evening on the edges, trying to make conversation, being polite, feeling invisible. Jerome noticed. Mom, you okay? I'm fine, baby. This is your night. I'm happy for you. But I wasn't fine. I felt like Chantal was ashamed of me, of where Jerome came from, of the woman who raised him. The wedding was worse. Chantal planned everything. Expensive venue, designer dress, guest list of 200 people, mostly her friends and family. Mom, Chantal says we can only invite 20 people from my side. Budget constraints. 20 people. For my son's wedding. I had to choose which church members, which family, which friends could come. Chantal invited every colleague, every social connection, every person who could advance her status. At the reception, I sat at a table with Jerome's cousins. Not at the head table. Not even close to it. Chantal's maid of honor gave a toast. Chantal has always had impeccable taste. She's marrying up in every way. Jerome is lucky to have her. Marrying up. My son was the prize. Not her. But I smiled. Clapped. Pretended everything was fine. After the wedding, I barely saw them. Chantal was always too busy. Always had plans. Always had excuses for why Jerome couldn't come to Sunday dinner alone. We're a unit now, Jerome. Where you go, I go. Translation, if she didn't want to see me, he couldn't either. A year into their marriage, things got worse. I invited them for Thanksgiving. My tradition, big meal, family gathering, love around the table. Chantal declined. We're doing Friendsgiving with my colleagues this year. Christmas. We're going to my parents' house in Buckhead. Jerome's birthday? That's when everything exploded. Jerome's 32nd birthday was in March. I called him 2 weeks before. Baby, what do you want me to cook for your birthday? Your favorite, Pot roast? Or maybe I'll do a whole spread like I used to. Silence on the other end. Then, carefully, Mom, Chantal's actually planning something this year. At our place. Oh, that's wonderful. What can I bring? She's having it catered, Mom. She said not to bring anything. My heart sank. Jerome, I always cook for your birthday. It's tradition. I know, but Chantal wants to host this year. Do it her way. She's inviting some of her colleagues. Making it kind of a networking thing. A networking thing. My son's birthday was a networking thing. Can I at least bring dessert? I'll make your favorite peach cobbler. Mom, she already ordered a cake from that French bakery. I'm sorry. Just come and enjoy yourself, okay? I hung up feeling dismissed, erased. But I told myself to be graceful, to let Chantal have her moment. The day of the party, I got ready carefully. Nice dress, good shoes. I wanted to fit in with Chantal's fancy friends. But I couldn't show up empty-handed. That's not how I was raised. So I made my mac and cheese. The recipe I've been perfecting for 30 years. The one with 3 types of cheese. The one with the secret ingredient, a little bit of cream cheese mixed in for extra creaminess. The one that's been requested at every church event, every potluck, every celebration I've ever attended. I put it in an aluminum pan, covered it with foil, and drove to their condo in Midtown. The building had a doorman. Valet parking. Glass and steel everywhere. I felt out of place before I even walked in. Their condo was on the 15th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Modern furniture that looked uncomfortable. Everything white and grey and expensive. There were already 15 people there when I arrived. All dressed like they'd come from work. Suits, designer dresses, heels that cost more than my monthly car payment. Chantal was holding court in the center of the room, wine glass in hand, laughing at something one of her colleagues said. She was wearing a dress that probably cost $1,000. Hair professionally done. Makeup perfect. She looked like she belonged in a magazine. Jerome saw me first. Mom, you made it. He hugged me, genuine warmth in his eyes. Chantal turned, smile freezing when she saw the aluminum pan in my hands. Dolores. You came. Not, Mom. Never, Mom. Always, Dolores. Happy birthday, baby, I said to Jerome, kissing his cheek. Then to Chantal. I know you said not to bring anything, but I couldn't show up empty-handed. Made Jerome's favorite mac and cheese. The room got quieter. People turned to look. Chantal's smile was tight. Oh, how thoughtful. You really didn't have to. I wanted to. It's tradition. I always make Jerome's favorite dish for his birthday. One of Chantal's friends, a woman in a power suit with a Chanel bag, leaned in. Homemade mac and cheese? How quaint. Quaint. Another code word. I carried the pan to the kitchen. The catered food was spread across the marble counter. Fancy cheeses, charcuterie, sushi, past appetizers on silver trays. My aluminum pan looked out of place. Like I'd brought cafeteria food to a 5-star restaurant. I found a spot in the corner and uncovered it. The cheese was still bubbling, golden brown on top. It smelled like home. Like love. Jerome came into the kitchen. Mom, that looks amazing. I'm so glad you brought it. Your wife didn't seem too happy about it. She'll be fine. She's just particular about how things look. You know how she is. I did know. That was the problem. Back in the living room, people were mingling. Talking about cases they were working on, deals they'd closed, places they'd traveled. I didn't have anything to contribute to these conversations. I stood near the window, trying to look comfortable, sipping ginger ale while everyone else drank expensive wine. Chantal's mother, Dr. Elise, approached. Dolores. Nice to see you again. You too, Dr. Bouvier. I hear you work in a school cafeteria. That must be fulfilling. The way she said fulfilling made it sound like charity work. Like something you do because you can't do anything better. I've been doing it 30 years. I love feeding the children. How noble. Chantal was just telling me she's up for partner at her firm. Such an impressive career trajectory. Translation. My daughter is successful. What have you accomplished? Dinner was served, or rather, people helped themselves to the catered spread. Fancy little portions on white plates. Food that looked beautiful but probably tasted like cardboard. No one touched my mac and cheese. It sat in the kitchen, ignored. Until Jerome went in and came back with a heaping plate. This is what I'm talking about, he said loudly. Mom's mac and cheese. Best thing here. A few people smiled politely. No one followed his lead. Chantal watched him eat with barely concealed irritation. After about 20 minutes, I got up quietly and went to the kitchen. My dish was still untouched except for Jerome's serving. I started to cover it back up, ready to take it home. That's when Chantal walked in. She'd had several glasses of wine. Her cheeks were flushed. Her filter was gone. You really couldn't help yourself, could you? I turned. Excuse me. I specifically said don't bring anything. But you had to bring your cafeteria food. Had to make this about you. Chantal, I just wanted to contribute. To make Jerome happy. Jerome is happy. With the life I've given him. The home I've created. The people I've introduced him to. And then you show up with this. She gestured at the mac and cheese. This struggle food. Embarrassing me in front of my colleagues. It's just mac and cheese. It's poverty food, Dolores. It's what poor people make because they can't afford anything better. My face burned. I'm sorry you feel that way. I don't feel that way. I know that way. This food tastes like poverty. Her voice was getting louder. People in the living room were starting to notice. Chantal, lower your voice. No. I'm tired of pretending. Tired of being polite while you drag your working class, cafeteria worker life into my home. I felt like I'd been slapped. What did you just say? You heard me. Jerome came from nothing. I accepted that. I married him anyway. But I'm trying to build something here. A life. A reputation. A social circle. And you keep showing up with your aluminum pans and your poverty food, reminding everyone where he came from. Where he came from. I raised that man. Fed him. Loved him. Put him through college working double shifts. And look where it got you. Still working in a cafeteria at 59. Still living in that tiny house in the hood. Still cooking struggle meals because it's all you know. Jerome appeared in the doorway. Chantal, what's going on? She turned to him, tears of anger in her eyes. Your mother brought food. After I specifically told her not to. She's trying to embarrass me. Mom brought mac and cheese. My favorite. What's the problem? The problem is this. Chantal grabbed the aluminum pan and held it up. This is cafeteria food. This is what poor kids eat because they can't afford real food. This tastes like poverty. Her voice echoed through the condo. Everyone in the living room had stopped talking. 15 people staring into the kitchen. Look at this, Chantal continued, holding up the pan like evidence in court. Cheap pasta. Government cheese. Probably made with whatever was on sale. This is struggle food. This is what you eat when you're scraping by, when you don't know any better. I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. 30 years of cooking with love, and she'd reduced it to poverty. To shame. To something less than. Jerome stepped forward. Chantal, stop. That's my mother. I know who she is. And I'm tired of pretending. Tired of acting like her food is special when it's just basic, cheap, cafeteria slop. One of her colleagues, a black woman in an expensive suit, cleared her throat uncomfortably. Chantal, maybe we should. No. Chantal was fully wound up now, wine and resentment pouring out. Everyone's thinking it. I'm just saying it. This is poverty food. This is what people eat in the projects. In the hood. When they can't do better. She turned to me, holding my pan like garbage. I don't serve struggle food in my home, Dolores. I've worked too hard to get out of that world. I won't let you drag me back into it. Get out of that world. I found my voice. What world? You've never struggled a day in your life. Your parents are doctors. You grew up in Buckhead. You've never known poverty. Exactly. And I'm not going to start now. I refuse to eat like poor people. I refuse to live like poor people. And I refuse to pretend your cheap, basic cafeteria food is anything special. Jerome grabbed her arm. Chantal, enough. She jerked away from him. Don't defend her. She's trying to embarrass us. Coming here with her aluminum pan and her struggle meals, making us look bad in front of my colleagues. I looked around the room. 15 faces. Some looked embarrassed. Some looked shocked. A few looked satisfied, like they'd been waiting for someone to say what they were thinking. Not one person defended me. I put down my ginger ale, walked to the kitchen, took my pan, my poverty food, and held it against my chest. I'm sorry I embarrassed you, I said quietly. That was never my intention. Well, you did, Chantal snapped. Next time, maybe think before you show up with your hood food. Jerome followed me to the door. Mom, please don't go. She's had too much wine. She doesn't mean. She means every word, baby. I can hear it in her voice. Let me talk to her. Let me fix this. There's nothing to fix. Your wife just told me and 15 people that my food, the food I raised you on, tastes like poverty. That it's struggle food. That she's embarrassed by it. Tears were running down my face now. I didn't try to hide them. She's embarrassed by your food, Jerome. Which means she's embarrassed by me. By how you grew up. By who we are. Mom. It's okay. I understand now. I'm not fancy enough. Not rich enough. Not good enough for her world. I left. Walked past the staring faces. Past Chantal, who was already turning back to her guests with a forced laugh. Sorry about that. Family drama, you know how it is. I rode the elevator down 15 floors with tears streaming down my face. Walked past the doorman with my aluminum pan. Got in my car and drove home. And I cried. Not just because of the insult, but because my son had stood there and let his wife call my cooking poverty. Let her humiliate me in front of strangers. Let her reduce 30 years of love to struggle food. But by the time I got home, the tears had stopped. And something else had taken their place. Determination. Chantal thought she could insult me and face no consequences. Thought she could call my food poverty and walk away clean. She had no idea what she'd just started. Because in Atlanta, in the black community, food isn't just food. It's culture. It's connection. It's respect. And Chantal had just disrespected the wrong woman. I didn't tell anyone what happened. I didn't have to. Jerome's cousin Tosha was at that party. She's a paralegal at a different firm. She was one of the 15 people who heard everything. By Sunday morning, less than 24 hours after the party, my phone was ringing off the hook. First call was from my friend Vanessa, who I've known since high school. Dee, what happened? Tosha just told me Jerome's wife called your food poverty. In front of everybody. Is that true? It's true. Girl. Oh, girl. Does Jerome know she did that to you? He was standing right there. Silence. Then, and he let her? He tried to stop her. But yes, he let her. Dee, I'm so sorry. That girl is out of her mind. Your food. Poverty. Your mac and cheese has been feeding this community for 30 years. She doesn't see it that way. She sees cafeteria food, struggle food, something to be ashamed of. Well, she's about to learn. I'm telling everybody. That girl needs to know you don't disrespect Miss D. Vanessa, don't. But she'd already hung up. By Sunday afternoon, the church phone tree was buzzing. By Sunday evening, half of Southwest Atlanta knew what Chantal had said. Monday morning, I went to work at the school like normal. But it wasn't normal. Teachers kept coming into the cafeteria, hugging me, telling me they'd heard what happened. Miss D, don't you let that girl make you feel bad about your cooking. Your food has more love in it than anything you can buy. Miss D, I heard Jerome's wife called your mac and cheese poverty food. That's a disgrace. A straight-up disgrace. The principal, Ms. Hawkins, came down personally. D, I want you to know something. The food you serve these children? Some of them, this is the only hot meal they get. You're not just feeding them. You're loving them. Don't let anyone make you feel small for that. I appreciated it. But I also felt exposed. Embarrassed that my family drama was now public. Tuesday, I went to church for Bible study. Usually about 20 people show up. That night, there were 45. They weren't there for Bible study. They were there for me. Sister Patricia stood up. Before we start, we need to address something. Our sister Dee was disrespected this weekend, and we need to let her know we stand with her. Everyone nodded. Several women said, Amen. That young woman, Jerome's wife, she called Dee's cooking poverty food. Said it tasted like struggle. Said it was hood food. The room erupted. She said what? Oh no, she didn't. That's disrespectful. Deacon Williams, 70 years old, stood up. Miss D has been feeding this church for 15 years. Every funeral, every revival, every celebration. She don't charge nobody. She just cooks from her heart. And some uppity young woman gonna call that poverty. That's her son's wife, someone whispered. I don't care whose wife she is, Deacon Williams said firmly. She was wrong. And she needs to know it. Sister Patricia turned to me. Dee, we love you. And we want you to know, your food doesn't taste like poverty. It tastes like home. Like love. Like everything good in this world. I started crying. Not from sadness this time. From being seen. From being valued. Wednesday, Jerome called. Mom, can we talk? What's there to talk about, baby? Chantal feels bad about what she said. She wants to apologize. I laughed. A bitter sound. She feels bad? Or she heard people talking and now she's worried about her reputation. Silence. People are talking. The whole community knows, Jerome. What she said. How she said it. Who was there to witness it. Mom, I didn't know it would spread like this. It spread because 15 people heard her scream that my food tastes like poverty. In front of witnesses. People talk. Jerome. Especially when someone disrespects a woman who's been feeding this community for 30 years. She didn't mean it like that. Yes, she did. She meant every word. And the only reason she wants to apologize now is because people are talking. Because her reputation is taking a hit. Mom, please. Can you just talk to her? Let her apologize. Tell Chantal if she wants to apologize, she can come to my house. To the house she thinks is too small. In the neighborhood she calls the hood. And she can apologize in person. Will you accept her apology? That depends on whether she means it. Thursday, I went to the grocery store. Ran into 3 people I knew from church. All of them brought up the incident. Dee, I heard what that girl said to you. Shameful. Just shameful. At the checkout, the cashier, a young woman named Kendra who used to be a student at Westside Elementary, recognized me. Miss D. Oh my God, I heard what happened. My cousin was at that party. She said your son's wife completely disrespected you. News travels fast. Miss D, I just want you to know, your mac and cheese got me through 5th grade. My mama was working 2 jobs. Some days, lunch at school was the only good meal I got. And you always gave me extra. Always smiled at me. Made me feel like somebody cared. She started crying. Right there at the register. Your food never tasted like poverty to me. It tasted like somebody loved me. I hugged her across the counter and realized something. Chantal thought food was about status, about money, about impressing people. She had no idea what food really meant, what it represented, how it connected people, how it built communities. And she was about to learn. Friday afternoon, Chantal showed up at my house. Alone. No Jerome. I answered the door in my house dress and apron. I'd been cooking, preparing meals for a funeral repast that weekend. My kitchen smelled like fried chicken and greens. Chantal stood on my porch in her work clothes. Designer suit. Heels. Makeup perfect. But her eyes were tired. Stressed. Dolores. Can I come in? I stepped aside. Let her into my small living room. The one she'd called cozy, like it was an insult. She sat on the edge of my couch. Uncomfortable. Out of place. I came to apologize. I didn't sit. Just stood there, arms crossed. Okay. I'm listening. What I said at the party, about your food, it was inappropriate. I'd had too much wine. I wasn't thinking clearly. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. If. She blinked. What? You said, if you hurt my feelings. Like there's a question. Like maybe calling my food poverty in front of 15 people might not have hurt me. I didn't mean, that came out wrong. I am sorry. For what I said. It was disrespectful. Why did you say it? I told you. I'd been drinking. No. Why did you say that specifically? That my food tastes like poverty? Like struggle? Like the hood? She looked away. I don't know. I was upset that you brought food after I asked you not to. Be honest, Chantal. You've thought that about my food, about me, since the day we met. The wine just made you say it out loud. Silence. You're embarrassed by me, I continued. By Jerome's background. By the fact that we're working class people who don't fit into your buckhead, bougie world. You've been embarrassed since day one. That's not true. Then why don't you ever invite me to anything? Why do you make excuses every time Jerome wants me to come to dinner? Why did you only give me 20 spots at your wedding? Her jaw tightened. This isn't about the wedding. This is about respect. About how you see me. About how you see the woman who raised the man you married. I came here to apologize. No. You came here because people are talking. Because your reputation is taking a hit. Because you're realizing that maybe you made a mistake. She stood up. Fine. You want the truth? Your food is basic. It's unsophisticated. It's not the kind of thing I want to serve at my events. I'm trying to build a certain image, and yes, that image doesn't include cafeteria food in aluminum pans. There it is. But I shouldn't have said it the way I said it. I shouldn't have humiliated you. For that I'm sorry. You're sorry you humiliated me. But you're not sorry for thinking it. I can't change what I think, Dolores. I can only apologize for how I expressed it. Then we're done here. What does that mean? It means I accept your apology for humiliating me. But I don't accept you. Not in my life. Not at my table. Not around my food. Her eyes flashed with anger. You're really going to hold a grudge over this? I'm going to protect my peace. You've made it clear how you feel about me. I'm not going to keep showing up where I'm not wanted. Fine. But don't expect Jerome to choose sides. He's my husband. He's my son. And he was my son long before he was your husband. She left. Heels clicking on my porch steps. Car door slamming. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, Jerome called. His voice was tense. Mom, I need to ask you something. And before you say no, please just hear me out. What is it? Chantal's firm is hosting a big event. A client appreciation dinner. 200 people. Very important for her career. They're serving food, and the caterer they hired just cancelled. Last minute. Some kind of kitchen fire at their facility. I already knew where this was going. The event is in 3 days. They're scrambling to find someone who can cook for 200 people on short notice. And someone, one of the partners at her firm, suggested you. Suggested me? How would they even know about me? Tosha. Jerome's cousin. She works at a different firm, but she knows some of the people at Chantal's office. She mentioned that you cook for large events all the time. That you're amazing at it. And Chantal wants me to cook? After she called my food poverty. She's desperate, Mom. This event is crucial for her partnership track. If it fails, it looks bad on her. If she can't find a caterer, the firm will blame her for not having a backup plan. That sounds like a Chantal problem, not a me problem. Mom, please. I know she hurt you. I know what she said was wrong. But this is her career. Her future. And what about my dignity? My self-respect? She told me my food tastes like poverty. Now she wants me to cook it for her fancy colleagues. She's willing to pay you $2,000. I laughed. $2,000 to cook for 200 people? That's barely covering ingredients. She wants me to save her career on a budget. Mom. The answer is no, Jerome. Absolutely not. She's going to ask you herself. She's coming by tomorrow. Tell her to save herself the trip. But Chantal came anyway. Saturday morning, Chantal's car pulled into my driveway. I watched from the window as she sat there for a full 5 minutes before getting out. When she finally knocked, I took my time answering. She looked different. No designer suit. Just jeans and a simple blouse. Hair pulled back. Barely any makeup. And her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. Dolores. Thank you for seeing me. I didn't agree to see you. You just showed up. Please. Can I come in? Just for 5 minutes. I let her in. But I didn't offer her a seat. Didn't offer water. Just stood there waiting. She took a breath. I need your help. I know what you need. Jerome told me. The answer is no. Please, just let me explain the situation. You called my food poverty. Said it tastes like struggle. Like the hood. Said you'd never serve it in your home. Now your caterer cancelled and you want me to cook that same poverty food for 200 people. Did I miss anything? I was wrong. What I said was cruel and classist and ignorant. I know that now. You know that now because you need something from me. I know that now because the past 2 weeks have been hell. Her voice cracked. Do you know what it's like to walk into work and have people whispering? To have colleagues, black colleagues, look at you with disgust? To have someone you respect pull you aside and say, I heard what you said about your mother-in-law's cooking. That's not who we are. So you're embarrassed. That's what this is about. I'm devastated. One of the senior partners, a black woman who grew up in the projects, she called me into her office. Told me she heard what I said. Told me her grandmother cooked food just like yours. Told me I was perpetuating respectability politics and classism. She said she was disappointed in me. Chantal's eyes filled with tears. That woman is deciding whether I make partner next year. And now she thinks I'm a snob who looks down on black working class culture. Which is exactly what I did. Yes. It is. This event, it's my responsibility. I'm the one who hired the caterer. I'm the one who's supposed to have a backup plan. If this fails, my reputation at the firm is destroyed. Everything I've worked for is gone. Again. That's your problem. Dolores, I'm begging you. And then she did something I never expected. She dropped to her knees. Right there on my living room floor. Please. I will do anything. I will pay whatever you want. I will publicly apologize. I will stand in front of 200 people and tell them I was wrong about you. Just please help me. I looked down at her. This woman who'd called my food poverty. Who'd humiliated me in front of strangers. Who'd been embarrassed by me since the day we met. She was on her knees in my house, begging for the very thing she'd insulted. Get up. Not until you say yes. Chantal, get up. This is pathetic. She stayed down, tears running down her face. I don't care if it's pathetic. I need you. I can't do this without you. I let her stay there for a moment. Let her feel what desperation feels like. What it's like to need someone you've looked down on. Finally, get up. She stood, wiped her face. I'll do it. Her face transformed. Really? Oh my God, thank you. I'm not finished. I'll do it, but on my terms. Not yours. Anything. Name it. First. You don't pay me $2,000. You pay me what you would have paid the caterer. What was that number? She hesitated. 7,500. 7,500. Plus cost of ingredients. So about 10,000 total. That's fine. Done. Second. You don't get to pick the menu. I cook what I cook. The food you called poverty. Mac and cheese. Collard greens. Fried chicken. Cornbread. Sweet potato pie. All of it. The struggle food. The hood food. That's what you're serving to your fancy clients. She swallowed hard. Okay. Third. You will introduce me to every single person at that event. You will tell them I'm your mother-in-law. You will tell them I cooked the food. And you will thank me publicly. I can do that. And fourth. Before the event, you will apologize to me. A real apology. Not this "I'm sorry if I hurt you" nonsense. A real admission of what you did wrong and why it was wrong. I'll do it. Right now. I'm sorry, Dolores. I'm sorry for calling your food poverty. I'm sorry for disrespecting your cooking, your work, your life. I'm sorry for being embarrassed by Jerome's background. I'm sorry for treating you like you weren't good enough. You've been nothing but generous and kind to me, and I repaid that with cruelty and classism. I was wrong. Completely wrong. She was crying again. And this time it felt real. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I'm truly, truly sorry. I studied her face. Looked for the lie. The performance. But all I saw was a broken woman who'd finally realized the cost of her pride. Okay. Okay. I'll cook for your event. But understand this, Chantal. This doesn't fix us. This doesn't make us family. This is a business transaction. I'm doing this because I don't want to see my son's wife fail. Not because I've forgiven you. I understand. Good. The event is Tuesday night. Yes. 6 p.m. At the Piedmont Room downtown. I'll need access to their kitchen by noon. I'll need 2 assistants. And I'll need you to stay out of my way while I cook. Whatever you need. Then we have a deal. She nodded. Started to leave. Then turned back. Dolores. Your food doesn't taste like poverty. It tastes like everything I wish I'd grown up with. Love. Care. Community. I was jealous of that. And I lashed out. I'm sorry. After she left, I sat in Gerald's old chair and thought about what I'd just agreed to. I was going to cook for the people Chantal wanted to impress. going to serve them the exact food she'd called struggle food. And they were going to love it. On Tuesday, I woke up before the sun, nerves buzzing under my skin like electricity. This was not like cooking for Westside, or for a church funeral, or even for 100 people at a revival. This was a corporate event in Midtown Atlanta, at a venue with white tablecloths and floor-to-ceiling windows and people who judged food as part of their lifestyle. But I reminded myself who I was. I was Miss D from Westside Elementary. I had fed hungry children for 30 years. I had fed a whole community through funerals, revivals, weddings, and block parties. I knew how to cook for 200 people. Those lawyers just did not know they were about to be blessed. I hired my helpers the way I always did. From my people. Kendra, the young cashier from the grocery store who used to be one of my students, met me in the parking lot at 9 in the morning. She wore an apron and a big nervous smile. Miss D, I still cannot believe you asked me to help with this. You work hard, you follow directions, and you care about people. That is all I need in my kitchen. The second helper was Sister Patricia from church. 65 years old, hips a little slow but hands like an angel when it came to seasoning greens. We loaded into the Piedmont room kitchen at noon sharp. The venue manager eyed my aluminum pans suspiciously but said nothing once he knew the bill was paid in full. I tied on my apron, washed my hands, bowed my head for a quick prayer, and got to work. By 3 in the afternoon, the kitchen was alive. Pans of fried chicken coming out golden and crisp. Mac and cheese bubbling, edges just a little browned where the cheese kissed the pan. Collard greens simmering with smoked turkey. Cornbread cooling on racks. Sweet potato pies lined up like soldiers waiting for orders. The catering staff, used to tiny plated portions and drizzle sauces, kept wandering through pretending to check on things. Ma'am, that mac and cheese smells incredible. Who taught you to fry chicken like that? Smells like my grandmother's house in here. At 5, Chantal slipped into the kitchen. She looked sharp again tonight. Black sheath dress, heels, hair laid, makeup flawless. But under all that, she looked shaken, humbled. The last 2 weeks had carved something new into her face. Everything on track? She asked. On track and ahead of schedule, I said. We will be ready when your guests are hungry. Thank you, Dolores. She paused, took a breath. The senior partner I told you about, Ms. Grant, she is here. She loves Southern food. If this goes well, it will not just save me. It will impress her. Then we better make sure it goes well, I said. Now get out of my kitchen. You are making my helpers nervous. Kendra giggled behind me. Chantal actually smiled, thin but real, and left. At 6 sharp, the guests started arriving. I could hear their voices from the kitchen. Laughter, greetings, talk about cases and clients and numbers with too many zeros. We plated the food buffet style. No tiny smeared portions or stacked towers. Real plates. Real servings. Fried chicken, mac and cheese, greens, cornbread, coleslaw, sweet tea, peach cobbler, sweet potato pie. I stood back and let the venue staff carry the trays out. From the doorway, I watched. At first, people approached the buffet with curiosity. Some with skepticism. This was not what they expected at a sleek Piedmont event. Then they took the first bites. I saw eyebrows lift. Smiles spread. People nodding to themselves. One woman actually closed her eyes and pressed her hand to her chest after her first forkful of mac and cheese. Within 10 minutes, the line at the buffet stretched halfway around the room. Within 20, I saw people going back for seconds. Within 30, I saw folks who had made jokes about soul food, now scraping every last bit off their plates. I stayed near the kitchen door, not wanting to push myself into Chantal's world uninvited. But the food did the work for me. I heard snatches of conversation as people passed. Whoever cooked this mac and cheese needs a raise. This fried chicken tastes like my grandma's. I am not even exaggerating. Who catered this? This is real food. Ms. Grant, the senior partner, was easy to spot. Tall, dark skin, silver streaks in her hair, elegant suit, presence like a general. She stood near the buffet, talking to Chantal. I could not hear their words until they moved closer, but I saw Ms. Grant hold up her plate and point at the food with clear approval. Later, when most folks had gotten their food, Chantal walked toward the podium. "Can I have everyone's attention, please?" The room quieted. She held the microphone with both hands. For the first time since I had met her, she looked small. Not in stature, in spirit. "First, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight," she said. "Your partnership, your trust, and your presence mean the world to our firm." Standard speech. Then her voice shifted. "I also need to thank someone specific. Someone who made tonight possible." I felt Kendra nudge me forward from behind, like a stage mom pushing the star out to the spotlight. Sister Patricia whispered, "Go on, Miss D. This is your moment." Chantal continued. "Our original caterer had an emergency and cancelled. With less than a week to go, we had no food plan and 200 people to feed. Someone at this firm mentioned that my mother-in-law has been cooking for large events in her community for decades, feeding school children, church families, whole neighborhoods." Heads were turning now, people looking around for the mysterious cook. "I need to be honest," Chantal said. "When I first met her, I did not value that. I was raised in a different world. Fancy restaurants, private schools, designer everything. I thought success looked a certain way. I thought food needed to be plated a certain way to be worthy of nights like this." She swallowed, eyes glistening. 2 weeks ago, at a private gathering, I said something cruel. I called her cooking poverty food. I said it tasted like struggle. I disrespected not just her, but everything she represents. Hard work, community, love served on a plate. You could have heard a pin drop. "I was wrong," she said simply. "I was ignorant and classist and arrogant. And I am standing here tonight to say publicly that her food does not taste like poverty. It tastes like home. It tastes like survival and celebration. It tastes like everything many of us in this room came from, whether we admit it or not." She looked toward the kitchen door. "Dolores, will you please come up here?" Every head turned in my direction. My feet felt heavy. For a second, I thought about refusing. Then I remembered every child who had ever told me my food made them feel loved. I straightened my shoulders and walked out. The room watched as a 59-year-old cafeteria manager in a simple dress and apron walked to the front of a high-rise event hall full of lawyers and executives. Chantal stepped aside from the microphone and gestured for me to stand next to her. "This," she said, "is my mother-in-law, Dolores Mitchell. She cooked everything you ate tonight. Every single dish. She did what a professional caterer could not do on 3 days' notice." There was a beat of silence. Then the room erupted in applause. Not polite clapping. Real applause. Whistles. People standing up at their tables. Ms. Grant stepped forward, mic in hand. "Ms. Mitchell," she said, "I grew up in a housing project in Birmingham. My grandmother made food just like this. I have eaten in restaurants all over the world, but this meal brought tears to my eyes. Thank you." "Yes, ma'am," I said softly. "Thank you." She turned to Chantal. "You were right to bring her here. This is the best decision you have made at this firm so far." Chantal laughed a little through her tears, more relief than joy. "Dolores," Ms. Grant continued, "if you ever want to cater for any of our future events, I would be honored to have your card on file." I did not have a card. Just hands, recipes, and 30 years of experience. But I nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I would be happy to." As I stepped away from the microphone, one of Chantal's colleagues, the same black woman who had tried to stop her at the birthday party, caught my eye and mouthed, "About time." I went back to the kitchen with my head high. Later, as the night wound down and people came back for third and fourth slices of sweet potato pie, I saw something shift in the way they looked at me. Not as Jerome's cafeteria lady mother. Not as someone from the hood who did not fit. They looked at me like what I was. The woman who had fed a whole room and reminded them of where they came from. When we finished cleaning the kitchen and packing up the few leftovers, Chantal found me again near the service door. "Dolores," she said quietly, "you did more than save my event tonight. You saved my reputation at that firm." "I did what I always do," I said. "I cooked. The food did the talking." She nodded. "I meant what I said up there. Every word." "I know." We stood there in the hallway, two very different women tied to the same man, breathing in the last smells of fried chicken and sugar and butter. Then she said, "What happens between us now is up to you." I looked at her. Really looked. For the first time, I did not see the shiny surface. I saw the scared girl underneath who had been taught to be ashamed of her own roots. "We will see," I said. "Trust is like dough. Once you punch it down, it takes time to rise again." Her eyes filled with tears, but this time she managed a small smile. "That sounds like something you would put on a t-shirt." "Maybe I will." We walked out into the Atlanta night. The skyline glowed. I felt taller than any building there. After that night at the Piedmont Room, word traveled fast again. Just like when Chantal called my food poverty, but this time the story had a different ending. This time, I was not the one people pitied. On Sunday, I walked into church and every head turned. For a second my stomach clenched. Then the smiles started. Sister Patricia waved me over. There she is. The chef of the Piedmont Room. Deacon Williams laughed. "Miss D out here catering for rich lawyers now. Look at God." After service, people crowded around. "D, my nephew works at that firm." He said folks were licking their plates. I saw pictures on social media. They had your mac and cheese at a Midtown event. You better start charging Buckhead prices. Kendra came running up and hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Miss D, they were talking about you at the store." People were saying, "That is the same woman who used to give us extra nuggets in elementary school." Out in the parking lot, I saw something that almost made me laugh out loud. Two women from Chantal's firm, still in their church clothes, were talking to Sister Patricia by her car. I walked up and they lit up. "Ms. Mitchell, I am Monique. I work with Chantal. That dinner was one of the best meals I have had in my life." "Yes, ma'am," I said. "Thank you. She told us you cook for your church and for your school. Do you have a business card? We have events coming up. Real community events. You would be perfect." I did not have a card, but by the time we finished talking I had 3 phone numbers and 2 dates written on the back of a tithe envelope. The same week, Ms. Hawkins, the principal at Westside, called me into her office. "D, the school board is planning a big appreciation banquet for staff and community partners. They want to move it from a hotel to our gym to save money. Someone suggested we ask you to cook instead of paying for catering. I told them you are worth more than any outside company, so we want to pay you what they were going to pay the hotel." She slid a paper across the desk. I looked at the number and had to blink twice. "For me." "For you," she said. "Everybody knows who feeds Westside. It is time they put respect and dollars behind your work." At the grocery store, at the beauty shop, at the gas station, people called out to me. "Miss D, Piedmont chef. Miss D, you gon' start a restaurant now. Miss D, sign my plate." They were joking, but there was truth under it. In our community, I was already known. Now the outside world had caught up. Chantal, on the other hand, discovered what real social consequences feel like. She told me about it one night when she and Jerome came over for dinner a month later. That alone was new. She had not set foot in my house since before the birthday party. She sat at my small kitchen table, shoulders a little lower, hair pulled back in a simple ponytail instead of some complicated style. No designer labels screaming for attention. Just jeans and a sweater. "Things have been different at work," she admitted, picking at her napkin. People heard what I said about you. The firm never wrote me up officially, but the partners stopped inviting me to certain lunches. Some of the black associates stopped talking to me completely. She looked me in the eye. You know what hurts the most? It was not the white folks. It was our people. They looked at me like I had betrayed them. One sister who always nods at me in the elevator refused to meet my eyes for a week. Another one told me, I worked too hard to get out of the hood to pretend like I am better than the hood. You missed the point. I did not say, good. I am not built that way. But I also did not rush to comfort her. Actions have consequences, I said instead. You wanted to live in a world where image is everything. Now that world is holding you to the image you created. Chantal nodded. The senior partners still respect my work. Ms. Grant especially. She keeps asking about you. But I know what I did is not forgotten. And maybe it should not be. Jerome reached for my hand across the table. Mom, I want you to know something. I was proud that night. Watching you at that event. I saw people who look down on folks like us realize we are the foundation. Not the decoration. The foundation. He swallowed. I should have defended you at my birthday. I did not. I will regret that for a long time. You are learning, I said. That is more than some men ever do. As for Chantal and me, we did not turn into best friends. This is not that kind of story. She still looks out of place in my little house, and I still feel out of place in her glass and chrome condo. We come from two different Atlantas, stitched together by one man. But things changed in small, important ways. On Jerome's next birthday, the party was at my house. Not as a networking event. As a family dinner. Chantal called me a week before. What can I bring? She asked. I smiled even though she could not see it. You can bring yourself. And maybe a salad if you feel like being fancy. I can do that, she said. And yes. Can you make your mac and cheese? Are you sure you want poverty food in your life? I teased. She took it without flinching. I want the food that built the man I married. That night, she cleaned her plate. Asked for seconds. When the church ladies came by with dishes, she did not roll her eyes at foil pans. She took notes. Asked questions. Took a plate to the old deacon who could not make it out of his house. At her firm, she started volunteering for pro bono work in our neighborhood. Not to take pictures and post them online. Just to show up. To sit with people who looked like Jerome before the suit. To listen. Once, I heard her on the phone with a junior associate. Do not you ever talk down on some grandma's food, she said. Those hands probably raised half the block. Show some respect. I could not help it. I smiled. The real revenge was not her on her knees in my living room. It was not the $10,000. It was not even the applause at the Piedmont room. The real revenge was watching her learn. Watching her world reject the ugliness she showed and accept the woman who had spent her life feeding people that world forgot. The real revenge was sitting in my own kitchen while my son and his wife bowed their heads over a prayer I led, about gratitude, about humility, about never despising small beginnings. And child, if you are listening to this and seeing yourself in my story, I want you to hear me clearly. If someone ever looks down on your work because it is not glamorous, remember this. It is easy to sign a check. It is harder to stand over a hot stove after a long day and feed people who do not say thank you. There is nothing poor about that. That is wealth the world cannot measure. If your children marry into money and suddenly act like where they came from is something to be ashamed of, you are allowed to step back. You are allowed to protect your heart. You are allowed to say, I will not serve where I am not respected. Have you ever had someone call your life, your effort, your love, not enough? Has anyone ever treated you like you were beneath them because of the way you live or work or cook? Tell me in the comments. Somebody needs to read your story and realize they are not alone. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Around here we tell real stories about real women who have been disrespected, underestimated and used, and how they found their strength again. If this story touched you, support Big Mama's Stories with a like, a share, or a super thanks if you feel led. That is how we keep bringing these stories to sisters who are sitting alone in their kitchens thinking they are the only ones going through this. Next time, I will tell you about a grandmother whose daughter-in-law tried to have her declared incompetent so she could sell her house out from under her. You will want to hear how that turned out. Until then, remember this. Your worth is not in your job title, your zip code, or the label on your clothes. It is in the love you give and the boundaries you keep. You are not poverty. You are provision. You are not struggle food. You are survival and celebration on a plate. Big Mama loves you. Take care of yourself. And do not ever let anybody eat at your table while calling your food less than.